The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusible isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusible.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. You find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. I've got John Wommack from Iron Solutions here to talk about what's going on in the world of used equipment values. John, how you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself, Casey?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Have a good Thanksgiving, man?
Did. Had the family over and everything went great. How about you?
Good. You didn't burn the house down making deep frying a turkey or anything like that?
No, I smoked it, so it was outside.
Oh, there you go.
And the smoker didn't burn down either, so that's good.
All plus. Yeah, no, I had a good one. Stayed home. Didn't travel this time around, so that wasn't all that bad. So we had a nice weekend of just hanging out. So I enjoyed that a lot. You don't get to do that very often, and when the time comes, it makes it good. But you got to travel a long ways. That traveling kind of diminishes the 2 or 3 days you get to spend with your family because you're thinking about the trip back home. Where it seems like every time.
Yeah, definitely puts a damper on it.
For sure. All right, man. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. So you guys have you've published your fourth quarter book. It's out there now. Talk a little bit about maybe some moments of clarity or maybe some moments of, oh no, things are getting worse, or things are getting better. When you're looking at from third quarter to fourth quarter, what did you see that changed, and did anything jump out at you as a surprise?
So, looking back, I mean, we can start with third quarter. So, like we talked about, there's been plenty of publications that we put out with marketing, and everything like that but we did put the new year model in the fall guide, which is, a full quarter, earlier than what we've done in the past. And like I've said, on here and other places, is that will be the new standard. But when you do that, there are other things that have to change along with it. It's not as simple as just dropping in the new year model and then everything kind of stays the same. So what we had to take a look at was, okay, so we're going to put this 2024 new year model in. What does that mean for the 23s, 22s, 21s, 20s, so on and so forth? And and we kind of knew it at the time, that the deduction that we would have to make on those year models might have actually put us maybe a month, maybe possibly a month and a half ahead of where things actually needed to go. But it kind of goes to a lot of the feedback that we've gotten in the past of being more proactive other than reactive, where we see the guide numbers actually going. But also too, that led into possibly not having to make a big move, whether it be left or right, in the winter guide. And so going into the winter guide, looking at all the reporting data, and everything like that we have, that's exactly what happened. So it was a very pleasant, call it surprise, I guess you could say, that we didn't necessarily have to make any real big moves. There were some things that we did have to make big moves on that I got some sold data, or I got some feedback from, multiple dealers that this needed to move here, this needed to move there. Like I've said in the past, if one dealer calls me, that doesn't mean that we're going to move this or move that just because the dealer, asked us to. Right. But that does make us put a magnifying glass on things, sometimes a microscope on things, and look at, what did we miss here? What did we miss there? How can we get better here? How can we get better there? And we're always trying to be better, always trying to make the guide numbers as accurate as we possibly can. So that's exactly what we did. But I would say, if we break it down into types and maybe some classes a little bit, is, the first thing that jumps out at me always, just because there's a ton of them still in the market, is 8Rs. And, 8R machines actually stayed flat, maybe a little bit elevated, just a tick. If you look at the sold data, you look at some auction data, and stuff like that. Now, does that mean that we actually push the guide numbers up? No, that's not what it means. What that means is that, there was not near the deduction on them as what there has been in the past, for the reasons of the data. The data wasn't pointing us in that direction, but also too, we made the deductions that we did in the fall guide. So you want to be a little bit proactive, but you can't be too proactive, because then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's not what we're here to do. So, but yeah, and we've definitely on this podcast we beat up on combines quite a bit, and I think everybody can come right along with us on that, on that. But there's still a bunch of them out there, but I did not see the depreciation level on them as what I have seen in the past. I've talked about on this podcast that back in Q2, Q3 of 2022, that's when we started to see the levy break, I guess you could say, for a lot of reasons. And from there, we started depreciating them very quickly and pretty much haven't looked back since. But now with this guide, that did slow down a little bit. But now, will that be the same in the future? Only time will tell. Like I said, there's still a bunch of them out there. We are in the middle of an auction season right now. So I believe that that's going to tell us a lot about what's to come. Dealers are having to make a lot of tough decisions right now. Do we want to try to retail out of this? Do we want to try to lease our way out of this? Do we want to go to auction with it? There's a lot of balls that are in the air, and there's a lot of questions that won't be answered until we get close to the beginning of the year.
Right. Yeah, there's always a lot of stuff going on this time of the year, trying to figure out how to get things to work out and make things do what they're supposed to do. So for sure, definitely going to be a Interesting fourth quarter.
Yes.
As you looked at the data that came across, was there anything where you saw, hey, we feel like seeing from first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, now here we are in the fourth quarter, that we've hit a quote unquote bottom of some sort, whether it's the bottom before the bottom or the actual bottom, but some sort of a bottom. Anything jump out at you like that?
So I did start to see a little bit more consistency as far as advertised. Because, if you looked out there throughout this year, I mean, what one thing would advertise for same year model, same everything, the split between advertised prices could be quite large. I am starting to see more consistency as far as advertised is concerned. So I think that that's going to bring more consistency into the overall marketplace. As far as sold data is concerned, like I was saying, a little bit earlier, is we didn't necessarily continue to see the drop off like we have in the past. A lot of the sold data was very much coinciding with what my thoughts were kind of going into the guide. I always have an idea of what I think could happen, or based on the data that we saw last quarter, or what I hear at this conference or that conference. Like we were at Moving Iron, right before we put this guide out, and got the chance to get a lot of feedback from a lot of different dealers, and listen to a lot of breakout sessions, and everything like that. So we were able to gain all of that knowledge, before actually putting this guide out, and a lot of that was coinciding with the ideas that we already had. So that definitely made us feel very good about the decisions that we were making, that we had to make, and the calls that we had to make. Even though we're getting to this is somewhat of a difficult time, because when you're in the middle of whether it be an upturn or a downturn, it's somewhat easy. I don't want to say easy, but it's always easy to say, keep turning them down, keep pushing them up, no matter whatever market that you're in. But when you get into, okay, so is this the bottom? That's when you really got to start paying attention to what you're doing. I don't necessarily know if I can say that we're at the bottom as of yet. There are some indicators that are pushing that direction. However, is there enough indicators that are pushing that direction right now for us to basically make that call? And in my opinion, they're not. Now, I think we'll know more about it once we get through this auction series. We always have after harvest auctions. That's a normal thing. What I'm going to be paying attention to is it a bunch of late model equipment that is still going to auction like we have seen in the past? What's the hours looking like on them? If we're seeing stuff that's very gently used going to auction, and they're hammering for, if that split between what retail is and what auction is still there, then we may not be there yet. But if it stays the same, or that gap starts to narrow a little bit, then maybe we are. What I've been paying a lot of attention to is, what are dealers advertising something for? Would that be a tractor, a combine, a sprayer, anything like that? And what are they actually selling it for? We can get that from the sold data. And then I've been comparing that to where were we in 2020? So where were we pre-COVID? As far as the percentage between advertised to cash. Now, the trend lines, some stuff, not everything, but the trend lines of where we were in 2020 to where we are now, they're really starting to meet. So could that be a signal of the bottom? I don't know. Like I said, we're just going to have to wait and see. And that's another indicator that is pointing that direction. But like I said, there's still a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. I feel like we've hit I think we have, barring something catastrophic happening, it just feels like to me we're out. If you look at where auction value is comparatively to where stuff is listed out on the internet at the full list price on that average, We're south of 50% now. So usually when you get to that 40 to 50% range on auction value, that's kind of the leveling out place. That's the bottom, and then it's going to kind of start, making its way back up from there. Mm-hmm. Feels like we're there. Seems like the data's showing that we're there. But the thing about this is one day it could be 38%, the next day it could be 45%, and it could be 46%, and then drop back down to 40%. Mm-hmm. So it's how those things are kind of flowing along, and there's so many things that go into an auction to make them successful. You could have two auctions next to each other on 2 days in a row and have two wildly different outcomes. But
and the other thing to keep in mind too is like you can have 2 or 3 dealers send 20 or 30 million to auction, and depending on what those things hammer for, it can change the entire landscape literally overnight.
Oh, sure.
Of where we feel that we are. And, like I said, there's a lot of indicators, like you were talking about there as well. It's another thing that we're watching. That's another, call it a positive indicator that we're at the bottom. But there's, like I said, there's still a lot of question marks. Is there going to be a couple of dealers that, that send 20, 30, 40, whatever million to auction because if you look at inventory numbers, still a lot of stuff sitting out there. There's still a lot of tractors, still a lot of combines. And, thinking back to early order programs this year, there was a lot less equipment that was ordered on early order programs. This year, it's shaping up to where that's probably going to happen again next year. So as we continue to roll through these things, is that going to be another indicator? I feel like that's definitely going to be an indicator, because if you ask dealers right now, where's your problem child's at as far as your inventory is concerned, they're going to say 1 and 2 year old pieces of equipment. The majority of them are. So as we roll through these trades, get through these other EOPs, and the 1 and 2 year old equipment now becomes 3, 4, 5 years old. Now, is that is that something that's not necessarily going to signal the bottom, but is that going to signal, light at the end of the tunnel? And that's really what I'm paying attention to as well.
Yeah. So I should have asked you this before we started recording so you could have it in front of you, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway. Looking at trade, the equipment coming in that has been looked at on trade year over year, 1 to 2 year old stuff, have you noticed a drop in that at all as far as, year over year? Because everyone I've talked to said they sold a lot less new machines for 25 delivery. So you would think that would correlate back with, hey, we got less valuations coming in on 1 and 2 year old stuff.
Yes, somewhat, yes. But also too, what you got to think about there is that just because we sold less new does not mean we actually sold less. Because you might have some guys that, historically they've always had new, but now, we got this 1 year old sitting out there that's got 100 hours on it.
Sure.
Dealer offers warranty on it, and stuff like that. And he puts his farmer in that one, but he's historically bought new. Talking to dealers, getting their feedback, there has been quite a bit of that going on. Just also like that, like where dealers are talking to their big mud customers, and asking them to keep their to hold on to their equipment for maybe another year, possibly two, doing some trickery with warranty, or something like that, so we don't end up in this same boat that we have been in the past. Might make it a little bit more appetizing for historically a B customer to come in and actually be able to want to spend the money on something like that, because they don't want to spend the money on a 1 year old because it's still out of their price range. Sure. So there is some of that, as well. But as far as like the overall number of sold data, maybe down a little bit, but nothing real significant. That I can really speak of. We're still kind of on that same trend of where we have been. But like I said, maybe a little bit less, but nothing too crazy, I guess you could say. Nothing that really pops out. But I 100% do agree that there was a lot less new sold this year, me and you both know why that is, and me and you both would probably agree that it had to happen.
Sure.
And it has to happen next year too, probably.
Yeah, it's going to have to happen several years in a row for it to really make an impact. I mean, but it'll be, there's a lot of things happening out there in the marketplace that are pointing towards, and you're seeing a lot of consolidation right now that you haven't seen in this level of activity you haven't seen for a while. I mean, there's a lot going on, So it's it's not even consolidation; it's just changing ownership, right?
Changing ownership, exactly.
In a lot of places, it's not two places didn't merge together. I mean, some of the stuff's just straight up just changing ownership. So
changing ownership, or you've got some groups that are shopping around a certain percentage of their business because they need cash.
Sure.
And they're reluctant to go to auction with some stuff because they've got way too much money tied up in what they already have sitting there. And they don't want to continue to take the hits that they have, but they still have this inventory sitting here. They're still paying interest on it, still paying holding cost on it. So they got to free up some cash somewhere. And I do think that there is some of that going on, like you talked about. I mean, what do you want to call it? Acquisition, consolidation, whatever. There's a lot of that going on in all of the OEMs. Just because, I mean, it's a signal of the times, and everything's happening. And I feel like in 2025, it's definitely gonna come to a head. But now on the flip side of that, like we talked about a lot at Moving Iron, there is a certain degree of optimism out there, as well. I mean, I think one of those reasons is, corn futures starts with a 4 now, not a 3.
Right.
There's some of that. There is a lot of indications out there that is saying that corn futures are, they're not going to be, it's not going to be gangbusters or anything like that, but they're not just going to be, but they're not just going to be in the dirt, really.
Right.
Either. And that's another indication. You've got the Fed coming out, dropping rates. We did 50 basis points, 25 basis points. We're posturing again to do another 25 basis points. That can be a leading thing as well. Definitely for dealers, not having to spend money on buying down rates. That's another thing that can free up some cash there. And also too, I mean, the election is over with, and I think a lot of guys were just sitting around waiting to see what the result of the election was going to be. Not necessarily that they were on this side or that side. It's just what are we going to have?
What team do we have to play on? Right.
Right. Where are we going to be for the next 4 years?
Yeah. Right.
And I think a lot of those questions got answered. And I think that's freeing up some things. And since everyone kind of has an idea of where things are going to go for the next 4 years, then, that tells them, okay, so now I can make this decision or I can't make that decision.
Right.
There's some of that going on as well. So, but yeah, I mean, there is a certain hint of optimism out there. But everyone that I talked to that was optimistic also said still got a lot of equipment to churn through.
Oh yeah,
the inventory numbers are crazy.
No one's going to starve to death because there's not enough stuff to sell. That's for sure.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. So, and I mean, you might see some inventory levels that are going down just a little bit, but boy, a lot of them are holding steady.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And I think that's the good thing about at least the market right now is that it feels like when you go out there and look at what's going on, that there is you can kind of guess auction values now when you see something go to sell. And also you're starting to see that gap close between auction and retail value, which the sooner that happens, the faster the auction value start to settle out and you start to see some of that stuff come up. So
yeah. And once you start to see some consistency on the advertised side, that's normally when you start to see some things kind of level out a little bit. I mean, you've talked about that on this podcast as well, is that, as as advertised values continue to increase, auction values will decrease.
Right.
They play together very, very, very well. But now that we've seen some more consistency and we're seeing some gaps close on the auction side, I mean, they both have the same relationship. So, like I said, we will see if this continues to happen or if there's another levee that breaks somewhere. Like I said, we'll see.
Right. And that's all you can never say this time of year when stuff like this has happened is we'll see.
Yeah.
A lot of things out there too that you've talked about a little bit. A lot of things out there that are standing out to me that could really change the way things are going. One of the biggest things I think that was one of the bigger hindrances to some of the renewable fuel standard stuff. 50%, I think, something like that. I got to go back and get the right number, but it's something around 50% of the actual oil that was used to make biodiesel is imported, right?
Uh-huh.
So they don't use soybeans, and if they use soybeans, I mean, all of a sudden we are like in a soybean deficit. So that changes the landscape quite a bit, right? So like those kind of things are things that are those kind of things really have an attitude that could change the landscape pretty quick and really right the ship. I've said this on here. If I said it once, I probably said it 100 times. But the beautiful thing about the farm equipment industry is that you have a year to see everything coming at you, and then you have a year to get ready for it. You have a year to see the bad stuff coming, and then how you react to what you know is going to happen. How you react to that is one thing, but you also get to see when some good things are coming your way too, and then how do you start stacking those chips up to help kind of end up in your favor. And it feels like we're kind of in one of those times right now where we see some good things on the horizon. If they come to fruition, then we're going to have a good opportunity to make things move. But a lot of ifs in there yet to make.
I mean, and there is, and some other feedback that I've gotten from dealers is they're spending a lot of time digging into their Rolodexes and basically trying to get their inventory right. If you have a case dealer that has some John Deere equipment and a John Deere dealer that has case equipment, what are they doing? They're talking back and forth to one another now, probably more than they have in a while, of trying to get that equipment swapped around to where they have all green, or they have all red, or they have all the different the fence stuff, the different shade of green, sitting on their lot, and they've got their inventory sitting there ready to go when guys decide that they're going to start buying. So there's a lot of that as well. I do believe that that's one indication that dealers are gearing up to be ready for when this, when whatever's going to happen does happen. I guess you could say so. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when we start talking about fuel imports, and everything else, I mean, the administration that's coming in has made it very clear that we're not going to be doing as much of that as probably what we have in the past. So what does that mean for American agriculture? You can very much right the ship, like what you're saying, because that creates more of a demand. Right. And when there's more of a demand, prices have to go up. That's just the way it is. That's simple laws of economics, right? So, right. But like I said, we've still got to wait and see what actually comes to fruition. Very easy to say that this is going to happen and that's going to happen, but still have to do it. Right.
That is exactly right. So, well, John, I think you laid out a good picture here of what the future is going to look like and how things are going to play out. We think things are going to play out and how things are going to come together. As I look at this, I feel I have more optimism for 2025 than I had for 24, but I didn't have any optimism for 24. So it's a little bit, goes a long ways here when you start looking at what 25 looks like. Going into 26 too, we'll start changing things around, but man, we're starting to, every year you see more and more of those upgrade kits start to come into play.
Yeah.
What do you guys see? What do you see in the fourth quarter as far as upgrade kit stuff coming through your data points that you saw?
So as far as upgrade kits are concerned, I would have to refer to our UCC data through EDA, and we are starting to see some of that coming through. As far as what the value is on them, It's
a tough one.
It depends on who you talk to.
It does. Exactly right.
Because, one dealer, and it's all going to depend upon the second buyer once it's on there. A lot of dealers are using the precision planning analogy on a planner of guy spends $50,000, $75,000 on upgrading everything on his planner with precision planning. He trades it in. Second guy comes along. He says, take all that stuff off there. It's not worth anything to me. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with what I want to do. It doesn't fit with this. It doesn't fit with that. But the dealer might have put a dollar amount on it. Well, but nowadays dealers are reluctant to even put a dollar amount on that because they have no idea if the next buyer is even going to want it or even going to care to have it. And that's going to be the thing, when we start talking about pucks. The first one that always comes to mind is See and Spray or Exact Apply on a John Deere sprayer. Is the customer that's going to come back in and buy that trade, are they going to care that it has it on there? So it's very much, in my opinion, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, which is very different from, the price that we can all agree upon that, a four-wheel drive combine is worth more than a two-wheel drive combine in the majority of the regions across the United States. Majority of regions across the United States, you can't really sell a combine if it doesn't have some sort of power folding grain tank on it. Most guys don't want a manual fold, and and so on and so forth. But there is more questions involved, and when it comes to pucks, and that is something that we're going to have to dig into, study the data on it, and try our best to figure out exactly what, if we do put a number on them, what is that number and what is it based on? Because like I said, it's not a regular option. Some guys would even say that it's not an option at all. It's got a different serial number on it. So how do you do that? We're still trying to figure out exactly, is there a number that we want to put on them, or is it something that we need to put in the guide as far as informational purposes are concerned? Can you go in there? Can you check it to see that it's on there? And because that allows you to put it on your advertisement, so on and so forth. That's one part of it, but a lot of guys are going to want a price on it. And that's just going to have to be something that we're going to have to back into the data and try our best to figure out exactly what the price is, because, some guys will say zero. Some guys will say $10,000, $15,000. It just kind of depends.
Yep. It is. And that's it's like anything else. And it'll be interesting to watch that play out, because more and more of that stuff's happening. And it almost feels like to me that the puck thing is going to turn into a longer term use situation than what some people think it's going to be. I can see some people updating whatever, and they're going to run that until the next great thing comes out, or they can't, or their platform doesn't support that or something like that. That's a crazy thing to think about. But man, there's a lot of stuff coming this way. So
yeah, and there is, and another thing that a farmer has to think about when they're spending that money on putting it on there is, how long do I have to run this on this machine in order to recoup my investment?
Right.
So that's something, that's something too, is like, how long will it be before we actually start to see these machines on the used market? Yeah, there's some on there now. But dealers putting puck kits on things are going to continue. It's going to continue to ramp up.
Yeah.
But if it continues to ramp up, is it going to be something that somebody's going to trade in the next year, or is it going to be 3 or 4 years before they trade it in? So that's going to be interesting to see. It's also going to be interesting to see, how does the dealer look at that? So it's a 16 model sprayer, but it's got 2024 tech on it.
Yeah.
Is it still a 16 model sprayer? Because, someone might say, well, the chassis is a 16 model, the engine's a 16 model, everything on it except for what's on that boom is a 16 model. Mm-hmm. So where are we at here? But then you can turn back around and say, but it's got all the new technology of a brand new 2024 model at a fraction of the price. Yep. So there's
you got to split the difference in there somewhere, right?
Yeah, there's a discussion there of where's the value, what does it mean, and to me, it's very much beauty's in the eye of the beholder when it comes to that. So, like I said, that makes it hard to put a number on it. But like we do with everything else, we'll back into the data and we'll see what the data is telling us, and we'll go from there.
Yep. Which is all you can do, right?
That's all you can do. Leave your emotions at the door, because
that's right.
Emotions and used equipment don't mix.
No, they really don't. They don't. Oil and water. So
oil, that's exactly right. Emotions will get you in more trouble you know how to get out of with used equipment.
Man, that is very true. Very true. It took me a while to learn that lesson, but yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a little while to learn it too.
It always does. Thankfully,
I had a boss to teach me. Because just because you think it doesn't mean you can do it.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. All right, John, probably a good place to stop there. Folks want to reach out to you, get more information about what it is you're doing over at Fusible and Iron Solutions. What's the best way to do that?
We can start with an email. My email address is John, Jon, last name Wommack, WOMMACK, at Fusible, FUSABLE.com. We can start with an email. A lot of times that ends up in a phone call, but I love to build relationships with any and all dealers that are using our product or not using our product. I love getting feedback on anything and everything, good, bad, or ugly. I promise you're not going to hurt my feelings. If Casey can't hurt my feelings, no one's going to hurt my feelings.
I've tried hard.
He's tried a few times, and I just smile at him and say, "Man, let me buy you a beer and let's talk about it." Because I mean, it's one of those things. Is for me is. This is not something to be defensive about. This is not that. I genuinely value any and all feedback that we can get from our customers. We value our customers. Our customers sign our paychecks. I will never forget that. At least I hope not. And believe me, if I do forget that, one of my customers will definitely let me know. But any and all feedback is 100% welcome. If there's a value that someone doesn't understand, please let me know. I'm not hard to get a hold of. If there's a option description, option value, like I said, please let me know. I will take a look at it. You have my word. It will happen. And if there's a change that needs to happen, it will happen quickly. It's not something that I'm going to throw on the back burner and say we'll get to it when we get to it. No, if there's anything that I can do to make a change very fast, that's exactly what I will do. But yes, please start with an email, send me an example or something like that, and we'll kick it around as long as you want to.
Well, John, appreciate you being the podcast, man. We'll catch you in next time.
That sounds great. Thank you very much, Casey.
Right on. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. Check us out on the YouTube channel. It's the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. And you can see us as well as on TikTok at Moving Iron Podcast. Go to movingironllc.com for everything Moving Iron related. And we'll go from there. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with John Wommack. Let's move smart, folks. Out. The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusible isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusible.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.